Hello, how are you guys? Hello, hello. Hello, welcome to Open Conversation live with your host Antonio. How are you? It's Wednesday, it's hump day. We're almost halfway through the week. A little bit more would be Friday. Friday. How's everyone doing? Hello. Hello, hello. Oh, I like this. Hello, Jessica. Hello, Elizabeth. How are you? How's everyone doing? Today's conversation is postpartum depression. I know a lot of my friends and a lot of my family members have gone through this or is going through this, or it can happen to them when they give birth. This is something that happens frequently. It happens to a lot of women. And this topic was requested by someone a while back, and I'm actually happy to be here today speaking in regards of it. That's the fun part of open conversation. I hope everyone is having a good day. Okay. Well, like I said, postpartum depression. I do have a little bit of a definition. The postpartum depression definition is, depression suffered by a mother following childbirth, typically arising from the combination of hormonal changes or psychological adjustments to motherhood and fatigue. This is happening a lot. I've come across a lot of my friends and family that have suffered this. They have gone silent in regards of this situation. They sometimes feel like that they're embarrassed, that they can't, provide for their child due to the fact that they are having, they're going through a physical change in their body. And, their hormones tend to just want to shut them out, and don't let them express themselves in the manner that they want to express themselves. Hello, Maria. How are you? So, tonight's live show is all about postpartum, trying to help those that have struggled with postpartum depression. This is basically someone that has given birth and don't want to be bothered with the kid itself, or sometimes with anyone in general, because it happens to, where they don't want to be bothered, they feel irritated, they feel like it's too much for them to handle, it's too much going on for them, so it becomes a very difficult situation here. So I have 10 symptoms that sometimes, that these are things that can cause postpartum depression, especially after childbirth. When a mother is feeling so vulnerable and so weak, and yeah, she wants to be, all lovey-dovey with her child, but unfortunately this depression takes over, and it takes a toll on how to be able to express herself to her child. Good, my love. I see you doing well. Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you, honey. The 10 symptoms that women that have given birth. The first one is sadness. That's, to me, is sad to see a woman that just gave birth feel sadness. When it's supposed to be a time of happiness, a time of joyful, a time that the family gets together and enjoy the new bundle that has come into this world, innocently. It's not that they don't love their child, is that unfortunately the hormones in the body tend to do a switch up on them. Number 2 is mood swings. This is a common symptom. I've come across a lot of women that go through postpartum depressions, and they have these mood swings where, I mean, one minute they are thinking that they are okay and that they're feeling okay and they feel excited, they feel joyful, and then next minute, they just feel like the devil has attacked them and has put them on this level of anger, of hate, there's so many things that comes along with that, when it comes to having mood swings when you are in a postpartum depression. And I know a lot of people, they tend to have this when they are they just have given birth to their child. Yes, we know a lot of them. I suffered from mood swings for the first couple months after both my pregnancies. And it is a common one, I was reading upon this couple days into this topic, and it happens, a lot of people do suffer from more of the mood swings, that sometimes they are okay, and then the next minute that they're not okay. It's not something that's you, because that's not you. It's something, an imbalanced hormonal situation that's taking place in your body that gets you, it's like having sad and happy feelings towards it. So, mood swings is one of the common things that a lot of women, have during postpartum depression. Feeling overwhelmed. This is another one. Sometimes mothers that give birth, they tend to feel overwhelmed. Instead of being overjoyed, they feel overwhelmed. They feel like, they can't do much. They feel like, it's not enough for them to do. They feel like they need help. They feel like, someone needs to come and rescue them. And these are things that we need to be aware. We should be aware of these things, especially when it deals with a family member or a close friend. We should be having eyes, especially to our pregnant women, be aware of these symptoms, be spoken about them, speak up, because sometimes, this can actually take a toll on any woman that has given birth, and you don't want to go ahead and do something that may hurt not just you, but the child itself. And I've come across that as well, that some people, they are going through a postpartum depression and they feel so overwhelmed that they tend to do something that they're not supposed to do. We need to be together. We need to work together and help these individuals to be able to overcome this depression that they fall into. It's just something in the body that just go cuckoo for Cocoa Puff. Hello, everyone. I know everyone is coming in. Welcome to Open Conversation Live with your host, Antonio. I am actually here talking about postpartum depression. Right now, I get on and I jump into my topics right away. I'm committed to you guys 100%. I may be going through what I'm going through, but at the end of the day, I come committed to you guys every week on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. Okay. The fourth one is crying spells. I remember that I had a friend of mine that went through a crying spell where you said something to her and she would just be like crying. You said something nice to her, she was crying. You said something bad to her, she was crying. You did something grateful for her and she was crying, It was just every moment that she had, she would just cry. Just the tears would just gush down out of her face, and it would be just the most saddest thing because, as a person, you never want to see nobody cry. You never want to see anybody feel emotion, that emotional part of them, because it's sad to see someone going through this depression phase in their life when it should be the most happiest time of their life. And it becomes a little overwhelming. So, these are things too, crying spells. People need to validate, and appreciate those and know how to cope with those things, and help your friends and your families, in regards of, being able to be there for them in this hardest time of their life, that they didn't even expect that they was going to encounter. So, That's crying spells. Number five is problems with memory and concentration. Um, I can't say that this happens often, but it does happen where some females they give birth and everything they do they feel like they're lost. They feel like they were doing something right now, and now they moved on to doing something else, and now it feels like they lost their concentration, they lost their memory, what they was trying to do, what they was trying to accomplish at that moment. And those are one of the things, problems with memory and concentrations. We should be aware of these things. A lot of people is not aware of it, and it's okay, to not be aware of it, because sometimes people just want to block those things out and say, no, I don't believe that I'm going through this. That no, I don't feel that my heart is in the process of going through something like this. So memory and concentration is a problem. And as you see, it's number 5 on the list. So number 6 is changes in the sleep cycle. That's very often. I can see that happening constantly when a woman is under the postpartum depression. I cannot physically sit here and say that I have gone through this, because no, I'm not a woman, and no, I have not had kids of my own. And I can only relate to some of the things that I have witnessed prior to my friends, to my families, that, and sometimes it could take only a couple days, it could take weeks, or it could take months. It really depends on how your body reacts to that chemical imbalance that happens in your body. And your sleep cycle do changes. You tend to always want to sleep, or vice versa. You lose sleep every night. You are exhausted from not sleeping. So it becomes very hard for this person to cope on a daily basis lifestyle, especially when you're losing sleep. And when you go from being always sleeping to not sleeping, or always being up and about, to now just only wanting to sleep, where nobody does not touch you and bother you or say anything to you or do anything to you. So that's number 6, changes in the sleep cycle. Number 7 is altered pattern of eating. This is it's, in my definition, I would say more like it's like an imbalance of how they eat. One day they eat, one day they don't. One day they're like starving and dying, and then one day is like they have no appetite. It's like having mood swings. The body wants food, but something in your chemical mind is telling your stomach, no, you're not gonna eat. You don't need that in your body. That's too much for you to have in your body. So it does become an issue, when they have altered patterns of eating, when they go through different phases of having different eating habits, Number 8 is loss of libido. If I'm saying it right, it's libido. It's libido. This is basically the lack of sex. You tend to not desire to have any sex. You push your partner to the side, not wanting them. Your sexual desire isn't there. Because remember, it's a chemical imbalance in the hormones that happens in your body. So these are common things. These are things that tends to happen, and I've come across people that witnesses these type of things when it comes down to having sex with their partners. And no, it's not the partner's fault for them feeling this way. it's physically them, their body and their mind is telling them no, that desire isn't there. That desire has been put away and locked down. And so they have no desire of doing anything with that person. And not because they don't want to, it's just their body itself doesn't let them to have any type of sexual intercourse with their partner or with their loved one. So, this is loss of libido is basically loss of sex. They use a proper way of saying it, bro. For people, for those that need to understand it better, it's loss of sex. It's basically that's what that is. Loss of that sexual desire. Number 9 is social withdrawals. This is a good one. A woman that gives birth tends to just be very antisocial. They become very like closed-minded, or they become like like they don't want to get on social media. They don't want to post pictures of their baby, or and I'm not saying that you have to, but these ladies, these new mothers that are going through a postpartum depression, they have social withdrawals where they don't want to be bothered by anybody. And anybody that comes to visit them or wants to talk about the baby, they feel irritated. They feel bothered by them and their presence being in there. And no, it's not you, the person that is, is causing anything. It's just them, their body, their chemical in their body is not adapting to the change that took place when having a baby. Having a baby inside of the womb to verse not having that baby no more inside the womb. And those are the chemicals that happens within that time frame. And it's basically when you actually give birth, and these social withdrawals, you just tend to just be like, what, you stay your way and I stay in my way, and and I don't want to be bothered by them, and it happens, and we as people, we need to be understanding. A lot of people come along and they're like, oh my God, they had a baby and they don't even know how to act, like they don't even want nobody to carry them. They don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. They tend to talk crap about them, but people need to understand and realize that sometimes it's not dumb. It's something that they can be physically going through. And, and you will never understand that part if you never witnessed it, And I've had a lot of people in my inbox, like, do postpartum depression, because a lot of people are not educated in regards to this. First of all, I wish I had a woman here doing this live show with me, because of the simple fact that I believe that a woman can answer a lot of my questions in regards of postpartum depression. I personally cannot sit here and say that I've gone through that, because I've never had a kid. I don't have a vagina for me to even push out a kid and feel the postpartum depression, So, and postpartum depression can signify different things too. I was reading through that as well. So, number 10 is enduring sense of exhaustion. Let me tell you something. This is like, to me, this is tops of everything. Where that sense of exhaustion is it's crazy. Where they feel overwhelmed. They feel, I know that the feeling overwhelmed is a little bit different than being exhausted. Overwhelmed just be like, too much going on. It's just too much commotion, too much bull crap and everything. And exhaustion is just like, you've done way too much in your heart. You've done way too much, and it's and it becomes an exhaustion to them. I those are my top 10 symptoms of postpartum depression. And for those that wasn't here, I'm gonna repeat this definition of postpartum depression, and it goes: depression suffered by a mother following childbirth, typically arising from the combination of hormonal changes Psychological adjustments to motherhood and fatigue. This is a really dope conversation because I've come across a lot of women that struggle through that. I do have a question for the ladies. Anyone that has gone through this and and that you have suffered through this, please explain to me, first of all, what is that feeling or that emotion that you really do feel when you give birth to your child and you feel like you don't want to be bothered by your child, the kid that you just gave birth to. You don't want to pick them up, you don't want to touch them, you don't want to talk to them, or so I have someone here said, "Oh my God, yes, was me today. I pulled over and cried my eyeballs out." And that is true. That happens. That happens often. That happens often. Where women sometimes feel, that vulnerable side of them. And it becomes very heartache for them to even cope and to be able to enjoy their child, especially after giving birth to a beautiful baby, and they feel like they can't even take care of their child now because they don't even want to be bothered by the child. So I completely I'm here. I'm being your voice to those that has struggled with postpartum depression. I'm just saying that it's hard for many people to cope with. If you are a friend that has a friend or a family member that is witnessing the postpartum depression and you see these signs happening, please, play caution when it comes down to this. You don't want to offend them. You don't want to step over their toes. You don't want to say something that's going to make them feel, sad about, So be aware of these things, especially to our pregnant women. Don't be afraid to speak up if you are having a postpartum depression. Don't be afraid to speak to your doctors in regards to this because, there is help out there. There is things that you can do to make this better, and sometimes you need a little estrogen in your body. Maybe you are low on estrogen. Start drinking some estrogen pills, vitamins. Get that hormonal dysfunctional part of you back on track, because you pull away, especially when you're giving birth. You've done use all your hormonal stuff just to be able to create this baby, So, postpartum depression, it is very, very hard. Some of these symptoms happen to those that have miscarriage as well. Yes, and it does happen a lot during miscarriages, and it happens as well even during abortions, I did wanted to talk about abortions today, but abortion is a topic that I want to just have a whole live show for, just like postpartum depression. Sometimes people are not aware that when they do have a miscarriage, they do go through a postpartum depression, and they say no, but in reality, what's hurting them inside is that they had something and now they don't have anything. And it's hard. It's really hard when it comes down to that. I have here, yes, that's true. My sister-in-law is going through that. Let me tell you something. I give her credit for going through something like that because it's one of the hardest part of depression, when it comes down to giving birth to a child, especially the depression part. Yes. The depression part is what takes over who you are and what you do and how you go about doing it. That does take a big toll on everybody, So I personally do say, that, as your sister-in-law is going through that, please be a great support for her, and not just only for her, but for yourself as well, because you never know what that can bring to you. So be aware of that. Know how to be able to be a support team for her, and not just only for her, but for all those that are going through that. That is going that's going to go through that, or that is already happened in the past. So I completely I'm here for those that have struggled through this. I cannot sit here and say that I relate to it because I technically never had children. I'm never gonna go through a postpartum depression situation. Maybe the depression part, but not the postpartum, because I mean I don't pop out no kids, so none of that comes out through here. Amen. So true what you're saying. Yes, it's and it's not about what I'm saying. It's more about we as humans, we need to come together as a unity. We have to be able to help those that are going through it. Because you sometimes go through something, and it's something that you can cope with, and to me, postpartum depression becomes a little bit more serious because we are talking about people that just had a child and is going through a postpartum depression stage of their life. When this should be the time where they are loving their child, holding, breastfeeding, changing diapers, hi estrellita, is actually, enjoying that part of new life, and for them to go through a stage in their life, that they fall into this depression that takes them out of this world. So we have to be a group of people that can be understandable to these ladies that has gone through postpartum depression, and talking it out with other people that's on the same levels, that can give you the same encouragement, and the way I look at it too, that women's supposedly be an empowerment between women, but sometimes women do want to backstab one another in regards of some of the stuff that's going on. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't look at someone and judge them based on who they are and what they're going through. Because at the end of the day, I don't wish any of my females that are pregnant, or that was pregnant, or that is going to be pregnant, to suffer from symptoms of of the depression that they're going through. We deny it as women. Sometimes we try to stay strong, and it's okay to stay strong, but what's best about it is when you start talking in regards to those things, and you're able to express that, and people can actually relate, and you feel more comfortable. You feel like a weight has been lifted off of you. And it's okay to be strong, because I want you as people to be strong individuals. But it's sad to see you go through something and you feel like you're going through it by yourself. That's the hardest part. You're right. I was telling this girl she needed to get some help, to let me help her, and she didn't, and she killed her baby. Let me tell you something. This is the thing, that postpartum depression will take you to the point where you feel so unhappy that the devil is a liar, and it will tell you things that makes it seem like, oh yeah, you don't want it, and then things happens. So yes, you guys got to be careful. Been there, and it was the worst and the hardest thing had to go through, but thank God I was able to get through it. Let me tell you something. It is a very hard when you go through a miscarriage. It is very hard because at the end of the day, that's what you most want. You want to be able to carry a baby. You want to be that mom, that parent that you always dreamed to be of. And so when you have a miscarriage does an imbalance, hormonal, chemical disbalance in your body that becomes very harsh. So it is very hard. I can tell you that much. I can't tell you that I understand, but it is what it is. It is going to be hard, and people need to respect and understand that. Give me a second. I have a long question. That happened to me with Victor because I had split from his dad, and it was overwhelming to think I wasn't going to be able to raise him by myself. Gosh, do I thank my mom and my fam as well as my hubby because they were my strength. All I keep hearing was mom saying, tú puedes, tú no necesitas un hombre para salir adelante. Look at him and make him be your strength. To this day, I'm glad they were there for me. Let me tell you something. This brings a lot of tears to my heart, to me, because this happens, and a lot of women think that, they fail to realize that they don't need no man to take care of their child. Dios te dio something that he knows that you're able to handle. So look at the kid that you're raising now. Beautiful, handsome, and didn't need anything from him. So it is true, and it is sad, that a lot of females, mothers at that, has gone through that because they get so overwhelmed with the fact that they're gonna be a single mom, and that they never they feel like they never wanted something like that to happen, but because it's happening, just their body, the chemical in their body just becomes so dysfunctional. And when you have great family and you have great friends, let me tell you something. Anything is possible in this world. You can overcome anything. The power of the strength of others and the prayers through others, the love and the care. Let me tell you something. You can overcome these obstacles that gets in your way and of your happiness, of the things that you want to do and you want to share with your baby, because that should be the most precious time of life. You're giving birth and you're like, oh my God, my baby, this is what I've been expecting for the last 9 months, and that should be your enjoyment. But, things happens with your body that just goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puff. So this happens very often, and I see this very, very often happening to many of my friends and many of my family members that go through a postpartum depression, and sometimes they don't even know that they're going through this, until I have to maybe say something and say, hey, I see that this and that is happening. Are you okay? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling, sad? Is there any switches in your bodies, that you feel like you cannot take care for this child? Because at the end of the day, you can be there with your child, and your child could be crying and crying and crying, and next thing you know, you just want to grab that child and just throw it across the room, thinking that it's okay because your mind is telling you to do those things. And in reality, that is not okay, and what can be caused can be the consequences that comes after that. And I don't want to see anyone go through something that that it would get to that level of obstruction. So we as people and as friends and as family, we have to be a great support system. Love and care is a big, strong thing, and when you show that support from the heart and you show that love and that everything that you want to give to them, let me tell you something. Anything in this world is possible. Anything can happen, So I tell everyone, please, be that person to help that friend. Be that person to help that sister or that cousin or that, auntie or, whoever can be going through that, because that can be anybody. And sometimes, postpartum depression, I was reading as well, postpartum depression doesn't sometimes happen right away. A lot of people think that postpartum depression happens right away. It can happen months after your birth, the birth of your child. This can happen after. It doesn't necessarily mean that postpartum depression happens exactly after you give birth. It can happen months after that, that it can happen. It goes, your body becomes like this shock, and, you start feeling like that depressed and that overwhelm, because sometimes females get in this motherhood really quick, like, I'm a mother now, I gotta respond to my child and things like that. But when it comes to a realization a couple weeks later, it's like, oh, whoa, what just happened here? And you start feeling lost. Like, wait a minute, I cannot believe that this is actually happening to me. So yes, this can be happening to many females out there. Be a friend, be a voice, be a help, be a shoulder, be somebody's ears, be somebody's hands. Be somebody's eyes. Sometimes people can't see of the things that is happening in front of them. Sometimes people cannot hear of the things that's being said around them. Sometimes people cannot feel the things that's surrounding them. People cannot, feel, because there's no feeling there. G2G. Love you, cuz. Oh, got to go. Oh, okay, sorry. This is gonna be on. You'll be able to watch the rest of the live show when you come, later back. I do appreciate you being on, sweetheart. Thank you to everyone else that continues to support me, that continues to be a committed viewer, a committed follower, and number one fans, wanting to hear someone give positive feedback to some of the stuff that is happening around us. People don't realize that there's so many things that's happening, and I take pride in what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I feel like I'm changing somebody's life. I feel like I'm putting hope in somebody's heart. I may not be the perfect person, and I might not come out with this glam. I'm not here for that. I'm not looking for a 15-minute of fame. What I'm looking for is to make a difference in somebody's life. It's to make a difference in somebody's heart, because we all are going through something. I could tell you that I'm going through the most devastating thing of my life. But at the end of the day, that's what I'm going through. And I'm still committed every Wednesday to come here and to produce a great topic show for everyone and giving back to my community and doing something I think is positive enough to help so many people, Give me a second. I have a long... I remember going through it by myself since I lived in Puerto Rico. My mom will always ask me how was I doing when she called, and I will always tell her, I'm okay, I'm getting better, just pray for me. I'm good, I'll be okay. So every time I see that happening to anybody, I know I try my best to help and encourage them and suggest professional help if needed. I know I did. And there's a lot of people, you tend to block out those that you love, and you let them know, oh yeah, everything is okay, mom, or everything is okay, sis, or everything is okay, titi. And you feel, and look, and this gives me goosebumps because of the simple fact that, it gets me a little emotional because, so many women go through this. So many women struggle with postpartum depression, and we as humans are not there to support them and to give them a shoulder that they can lean on and cry. This is why this world is so corrupted by so many people always pushing everyone to the side, that when it actually comes down to that, people don't want to be there for nobody. I'm a person that always suggests professional help to everyone. And there's plenty of professional help for everybody. I believe that if you are going through this, you need to speak to someone. You need to be able to cry it out. You need to be able to say what's on your mind, You don't want to stop doing what you're doing to being who you are, And it's very important that everyone is part of that, So, yep, you're right. And I completely understand your pain because sometimes, we, as humans, we don't want to be a bother to anyone. So you tend to back off from that, And it's sad when you do pull away from those things because you want to be a great support system for those, and everybody needs help. We're all going through something. We're all going through um something. We're in the same boat, so it's hard for a lot of people to not relate to some of these topics and not be able and to sit here and say, yeah, I understand, and reality not understand what is the concept of going through a depression in general, and not feel like, someone is looking at them differently, or if someone is judging them, or someone is, doing or going about something, so it is really hard. It is really hard, you know? And the population of that, I mean, 1 out of 7 females go through this. That's sad. 1 out of 7 females go through this, through postpartum depression. And you know how many women go through that? And that could be from any form of depression, So it is very hard, and it's very hard for someone to be able to cope with. So I completely is there for those that are going through it. Be aware of the different symptoms. I will read them again. 1 is sadness, 2 is mood swings, 3 is feeling overwhelmed, 4 is crying spells, 5 is problems with memory and concentration, 6 changes in sleep cycle, 7 altered pattern of eating, 8 loss of libido. That's basically loss of sex. Number 9 is social withdrawals. And number 10 is enduring sense of exhaustion. This is very difficult, people. People need to be aware of these things, I know I see a lot of people coming in and out. Hello, everyone, to those that just came in. Welcome to Open Conversation Live with your host, Antonio. It's a pleasure to be here once again. I love coming on live every week on Wednesday. If you have any questions, we're talking about postpartum depression. It's a great topic for those that need help to rejuvenate yourself with some of the things that you may have encountered while giving birth. After giving birth of your child. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask those questions. Feel free to say what's on your mind, what needs to be said. Maybe you can help me understand more of what is postpartum depression. What are those things that you as a person experience while going through this postpartum depression, and this is something that happens after you give birth. A lot of people don't know that. Some people are like, oh yeah, she's going through postpartum depression, and I don't know if they're saying it in a joke or if they're saying it because they know what postpartum depression is. And postpartum depression is basically someone that gives birth, and after the fact, their body has this hormonal characteristic dysfunctional situation that takes place, and it goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puff. So it is sad for many people that goes through this. Any questions? I know I have 15 minutes on the clock. I want to be able to answer all your questions as quickly as possible to the best of my abilities. I don't want to say something that's going to offend anyone or say something that's not going to be appropriate or say something that I really don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And to be honest with you, I really don't know what I'm talking about. But because I made my research in regards of this topic, because of I've experienced this with so many females, so many of my friends and so many of my family members that, they have gone through postpartum depression. And yeah, some of them has last only few weeks at a time, but some has, exceeded that, And it's sad when you see a woman going through something like this. It's really sad. So I educated myself in regards of this topic because I wanted to see, what was really the heartaches that comes along with this. Great topic today. On my first time watching you live. I always see it after. I be at Bible study on Wednesdays till 7:30 p.m. to 8:45 p.m. Today I'm home. Well, I'm telling you, this is like Bible study too. But this is more of life experience studying, the way I look at it. And I am thankful for you to be on my topic show. This has been it's been an experience having you on. It's nice to see different people come on every week, and that's what I like, that every week becomes a different week with different topics and different situations. And everybody can be able to relate to some of the topics, and some will not be able to relate. The live show wasn't made for everybody. The live show was for everybody when it's the time for them. That's how live open conversation is about. Whenever you're ready and whenever there's a topic that you feel like it's for you, you're more than welcome to be part of it. Some topics that have many viewers, some topics I don't have that many viewers. It really depends, how fire the topic is. What am I touching? What type of topics am I hitting home with? This is a big topic to me that many women go through, and especially when they give birth. They sometimes don't fall into realization that they're going through this, but in reality, they are going through this. We as friends, we need to be supportive. As people, we need to be supportive to them, and let them know that we are here for them. Just because they're going through this doesn't mean that they have to separate themselves from it. That we're talking and being able to have them express themselves in a manner that's respected. That's what matters. You want to be all ears for them, and that's what's important. You want to be all ears for them. I always say it to everyone, we need to be a great support to each and one of us. A lot of people don't realize it, but we go through so much in life, and people never want to be there for nobody. People never want to be a help to anybody, And it's sad because it happens. It happens very often. It happens very often when it comes to this. Especially when it comes down to postpartum depression. It's like suicide, bullying. A lot of people close themselves away from that. And this is like one of those topics where a lot of people tend to close themselves away from that, and they don't want to believe that they are going through something that's emotionally breaking them down into pieces, and they don't realize that that's actually hurting them. That's being a big toll on them, and the only thing I ask for everyone is to be part of that journey with them, to be a support system for them, because that's what's important. Being there for them, being supportive for them, being a motivation, an inspiration for them, and letting them know that you're there to be there for them, like if they need someone to call because they need to cry, or, if they feel like something is going to happen, that they're going to do something to the baby, you're able to be that person that they can feel, that they can trust, that they can come to, and not feel like, you're judging them because they're going through what they're going through, because that's what a lot of women do. They sometimes back away from it because they feel like people is going to talk crap about it, or that they're going to judge them and say, oh my God, mira esta, no sabe cuidar su baby, y que si esto si lo otro. And at the end of the day, we don't really know if they're going through something, and that's why they're acting like that. They can physically hurt or kill this baby with acting like that. So you should be aware of these things that's happening around you. And that's the mistake that a lot of people tend to make, that they're quick to judge and quick to point a finger, but not quick enough to help another person that's crying out loud. in their own, within their own vicinity of their body, of their temple, and you can sometimes see when someone is going through something. Emotionally, you can see it in their face, when they're going through something, when they're feeling like they're overwhelmed, and especially with those that have friends that they're up and down, and then all of a sudden they give birth, and they have a different type of eating habit. They tend to start eating less, eating lot, eating less, because you go through different phases. You can be eating the whole world, and then next minute you ain't eating nothing out of the world. So it is very hard, for those females that go through this. I do have about 9 minutes on the clock. Yeah, we see a lot of that among our friends and family, and it's sad. It's really sad. It's really, really sad that we have to witness half of these things with our own family. And not only with our own family, that we have to witness it with our own friends. People that we think that we know, and in reality, we don't know who they are until we go through something like this and we get to see who's really there for you and who's really not. So, it is really sad when it comes down to something like this, that we supposed to be a team of commitment, and life is an experience. Like I tell everyone, life is an experience. If you don't go through those experiences in life, then what makes you think that you'll be able to overcome any other obstacles further down in the future? You have to go through these obstacles, in order for you to reach to the highest mountain, that there can be in this world. Because at the end of the day, you cannot expect to not go through something and go through it and then feel like it was nothing, and that's the mistake that many people do. We're not a support system to many people when we should. We don't encourage those when we should. I was saying this to someone the other day, that sometimes saying something positive or saying something that's gonna uplift someone can change so much of people. That can change so much of anybody. And you want to be that support system for that person. Definitely you want to be that support system for them. Because you don't want to witness hearing on the news that they killed their own baby, or they did this and they did that, and that, I think, becomes the most devastating thing. Going through something, and then your mind plays a trick and tell you go do this and do that, and in reality what you did was something that you was not supposed to do, and now you being arrested. You had so much to offer, and now look at you behind bars because you committed a murder by killing an innocent baby. And if you feel like you are not ready to be a parent, because it happens too. You get so overwhelmed within just 2-3 weeks, and postpartum can happen then. But you feel like you're going through this. Put up your child for an adoption. Give them the life that they deserve. Don't put them through a situation that's gonna be bad for them, in the future. Give them a home, a happy home. I know that can be the most hardest thing to do, but you're giving gift to someone that cannot maybe have kids. You're giving a gift to those that wish that they can make a difference in somebody's life. And by you doing that, it's just you take that edge off of you, from trying to commit something that you don't want to commit. And it's really, really sad when it comes down to that. It's really sad. Any questions? Any questions? Just a reminder, next week it's Memorial Day on Monday, just for those to remember. It's Memorial Day on Monday. I just do want to wish everyone a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. Hope that everyone enjoys themselves with their family and their friends. The people that they love and that they enjoy so much in life. I only send you blessings and continuous of my prayers for you and your family. Love you, Antonio. Have a blessed night on purpose. Funny. And I just want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day to many people that does celebrate it. We are on a new journey within my family. We're going through a hard time, but we will get through this together, and that's the fun part of being family. We get through this together. But I just want to, remind everyone next week, we will have live open conversation on May 30th. It's Wednesday at 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Do not forget, put your alarm. Do what you need to do to be on this live. Next week's topics, I'm not sure what I'm doing next week yet, because I've been changing my topics from weeks at a time, because so many people just keep hitting my inbox like, oh my God, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do that. And, and I want to give my support to everyone, that I'm giving you the shows that you want to talk about, that we are here to fix and overcome these obstacles that has encountered in our lives, and that can be very deceiving in our future, and breaking all cycles of these things. So just a reminder, next week, like I said, open conversation is on for May 30th. We do not know what's the topic for next week. Just for a reminder to my Facebook viewers, I have a donation button on there, and it's basically for I can be able to create a better live open conversation for you guys on getting better equipment and bigger equipment that I can actually maneuver a little bit more. And plus, live is becoming bigger than what it is. And I'm ready to start now taking it on to the next level, and taking it onto the road, and getting it across the country, and going into bars and open mic sessions, and be able to express ourselves in a manner that people can actually hear us, people can actually relate to us, people can actually feel comfortable in talking a lot about certain topics that we should be able to talk about. So that's why I have a donation button. You are more than welcome to donate if you can. Don't worry, it's okay. Life doesn't stop there, but a donation is very highly appreciative. And the more support that you guys give me, the more I'm able to produce for you guys. How about changing the time so I can be here with you? I already had changed the time a couple months ago, and that's why I put it for 8 o'clock. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. When I had it at 7 o'clock, I had more viewers than opposed to having it at 8 o'clock. So now I have to find a new purpose of timing that's actually going to work for everyone, because I want to put it on a time where, you can be either in bed and watching it, or, you at your friend's house and you're watching it. This is like Love and Hip Hop. You can record it only for 24 hours, but you can't come back to it as long as you go to YouTube and you're able to see it from there. So I'm going to work with the timing. I will see what I can do for the next couple of weeks and see what's taking place with that aspect. So I'll be working with that. Well, anyhow, guys, I want to take this time to say thank you to everyone. Until next week, we have new topics that comes out every week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Please stay tuned for the next topics. And I do admire and love you guys. Ask the question as your status to see what you get. I will do that. I will put that as a question on my status in regards of time to see what works out for myself and for everybody. Well, thank you guys. Have a good night. Love you all. Looking forward to next week.